There are nights when certain words seem to recognize you before you have explained yourself. This may be one of those nights. Not because something outside you has chosen you for a special prediction. Not because a hidden force is making a promise about tomorrow. It is more intimate than that. You have arrived here carrying questions you may not have said aloud, and when the right words meet a question you have carried for a long time, they can feel almost personal. They can feel as though someone has finally spoken to the part of you that has been quietly trying to hold everything together, the part that stayed composed, the part that tried to be understanding, the part that kept giving situations more time because you did not want to judge too quickly, the part that kept telling itself that patience was kindness, the part that wondered whether asking for more would make you difficult, the part that tried to need less so that connection could feel easier. Tonight, these words are for that part of you. Not to criticize it, not to embarrass it, not to tell you that you should have known better. You did the best you could with the understanding you had, the hopes you carried, and the lessons you had been given. You were trying to protect something meaningful. You were trying to keep faith with what mattered to you. You were trying to believe that care, patience, loyalty, and generosity would eventually be met with the same depth. There is dignity in the fact that you cared. There is also dignity in learning that care does not require you to disappear. You do not have to become cold in order to become clear. You do not have to become suspicious in order to become discerning. You do not have to stop believing in connection in order to stop abandoning yourself for it. Something quieter can begin. You can stay warm and still have limits. You can stay kind and still recognize inconsistency. You can stay hopeful without building your whole emotional life around what someone might eventually become. You can care deeply without making another person's uncertainty your daily responsibility. These are not hard truths meant to make you harder. They are steady truths meant to return you to yourself. Because there is a kind of exhaustion that does not always look dramatic from the outside. You may still work, you may still laugh, you may still answer messages, you may still take care of people, you may still appear calm. Yet inside, a part of your attention may have been constantly leaning towards someone else, waiting, checking, interpreting, wondering, trying to understand a change in tone, trying to decide what a delayed reply means, trying to figure out whether distance means disinterest, fear, stress, timing, confusion, or something you said. You may have replayed conversations long after they ended. You may have read your own words again and again, looking for the place where you might have asked for too much. You may have edited yourself before speaking because you wanted to avoid creating tension. You may have softened questions that were already reasonable. You may have delayed expressing what you needed because you were afraid that honesty would push someone away. You may have told yourself that you were being mature when part of you was actually afraid to ask for clarity. You may have accepted uncertainty because certainty seemed too costly to request. This is how self-abandonment can become difficult to recognize. It does not always arrive as one large decision. Sometimes it appears in small moments repeated over time. You say, "It's fine," when it is not fine. You say, "I understand," before you have asked whether your own feelings have been understood. You say, "Take your time," while ignoring how much time the situation has already taken from your peace. You reassure the other person while your own nervous system remains unsettled. You become the interpreter, the accommodator, the one who explains every absence, the one who supplies the benefit of the doubt again and again, the one who turns inconsistency into a complicated story because the simpler explanation hurts too much. You may not have called it settling. You may have called it patience. You may not have called it overgiving. You may have called it loyalty. You may not have recognized that you were shrinking. You may have thought you were becoming easier to love. That is why this moment asks for compassion rather than judgment. You were not foolish for hoping. Hope can be beautiful. What matters is learning where hope supports your life and where it quietly asks you to postpone your life. There is a difference between giving something time and living indefinitely inside uncertainty. There is a difference between understanding another person's difficult and making their difficulty the reason your needs never matter. There is a difference between being flexible and becoming so flexible that you no longer know what you actually want. There is a difference between acceptance and self-erasure. You can learn those differences without shaming any earlier version of yourself. You can look back and say, "I understand why I stayed. I understand why I waited. I understand why I kept trying. I understand what I hoped would happen. And I understand more now." That last sentence can change the way you carry your past, not because it makes the past disappear. It does not. Not because it makes every disappointment meaningful. Some disappointments are simply painful. Some endings remain sad. Some unanswered questions remain unanswered. Some people never explain themselves in a way that gives the closure we imagined we needed. Yet your growth does not have to wait for another person's explanation. Your clarity does not require a confession from someone else. Your future does not depend on getting every old question resolved. You can learn from what happened without remaining emotionally employed by it. You can stop working overtime trying to solve another person. You can stop treating mixed effort as a puzzle that must have a hidden answer. You can stop assuming that if you become more patient, more attractive, more successful, more available, more understanding, or less demanding, uncertainty will finally become security. That pattern can be exhausting because it quietly turns connection into performance. Instead of asking, "Is this meeting me well?" you begin asking, "How can I become the person who makes this work?" Those are very different questions. One keeps you in relationship with your own truth. The other can turn your attention into a constant attempt to earn what should also be freely offered. You may know this pattern in small ways. You send the first message because silence feels unbearable. You send another because the first one feels too exposed on its own. You explain what you meant before anyone has misunderstood you. You apologize for having feelings before anyone has said your feelings are a problem. You lower the importance of something that mattered to you, so the other person will not feel pressured. You say you are not expecting anything when, in truth, you are hoping for basic consistency. You tell yourself you are relaxed while your mind is tracking every change. You agree to arrangements that leave you confused because asking for definition feels risky. You accept attention only when it is convenient for someone else, and then try to feel grateful for whatever was offered. You become excellent at surviving crumbs of certainty. And because you are thoughtful, you can create very intelligent reasons for staying in situations that do not feel good. You can explain the other person's childhood, their stress, their fear, work, their past, their attachment patterns, their bad timing, their responsibilities, their difficulty communicating. You can understand all of it. Understanding is not the problem. The problem begins when understanding someone else requires you to repeatedly ignore what the situation is doing to you. Compassion has to include you. That is a sentence many caring people learn late. Compassion has to include you. Your empathy is not more noble when it excludes your own heart. Your patience is not more beautiful when it repeatedly costs you your peace. Your loyalty is not more meaningful when it asks you to betray what you clearly know. Your kindness is not proven by how long you can stay uncomfortable without speaking. You are permitted to take your own experience seriously. You are permitted to admit that something affects you. You are permitted to say that inconsistency is difficult for you. You are permitted to prefer clarity. You are permitted to want mutual effort. You are permitted to recognize that attraction alone does not create compatibility. You are permitted to care about how you are treated, not only how strongly you feel. Many people learn to measure connection by intensity, how much they think about someone, how strongly they miss them, how powerful the chemistry feels, how emotionally charged each interaction becomes, how relieved they feel when attention returns after distance. Intensity can feel important. It can also hide a simple question. Do you feel safe being yourself here? Not perfectly safe. No human relationship can remove all discomfort or uncertainty, but safe enough to speak honestly, safe enough to ask a question, safe enough to have a boundary, safe enough to have a different opinion, safe enough not to constantly calculate whether your truth will cost you affection, safe enough to remain a whole person. That matters. Because you were never meant to spend your emotional life trying to become impossible to leave. Think about how exhausting that goal would be. To become so pleasing that no one withdraws, so patient that no one feels challenged, so attractive that no one looks elsewhere, so useful that no one forgets your value, so understanding that no one has to grow, so undemanding that no one can accuse you of needing too much. There is no final victory in that project. There is only more performance, more monitoring, more adjustment, more fear. Even if someone stayed, you would still have to wonder whether they were staying with you or with the carefully managed version of you. You deserve a different kind of inner life. An inner life where connection is important, but not more important than self-respect. An inner life where closeness does not require constant proving. An inner life where you can enjoy affection without becoming dependent on reassurance every hour. An inner life where another person's mood does not immediately become a verdict on you. An inner life where someone's confusion does not automatically become your emergency. You can begin building that life quietly. No announcement is required. No dramatic speech is required. You do not have to convince anyone that you have changed. You do not have to post about it. You do not have to display independence. You do not have to perform detachment. Real change often becomes visible in ordinary choices. You stop sending the message you do not actually want to send. You wait until you know what you mean before explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for respectful needs. You ask directly instead of collecting clues. You listen to the answer you are given, including the answer expressed through repeated behavior. You stop converting bare minimum effort into evidence of hidden devotion. You stop arguing against what your own experience has been telling you. You stop making yourself responsible for keeping every connection alive. This does not mean you never reach out first. Healthy connection is not a competition over who cares less. Sometimes you call first. Sometimes you plan first. Sometimes you apologize first. Sometimes you make the greater effort because the other person is tired, grieving, ill, overwhelmed, or going through a difficult season. Mutuality is not a perfect 50-50 calculation. Real relationships breathe. They shift. One person may carry more for a while. Then the balance changes. The deeper question is whether care moves in both directions over time, whether responsibility is shared, whether your needs exist in the relationship too, whether repair is possible, whether honesty is welcomed, whether both people are participating in what is being built. That is very different from being the only person keeping something emotionally alive. You may have known situations where your effort created the appearance of closeness. You initiated most conversations. You kept plans moving. You revived contact after distance. You excused every lapse. You brought warmth when the other person became vague. You translated your needs into softer and softer language. You tried to make emotional availability look optional because you feared that asking for it directly might end the connection. There is a painful truth hidden in that pattern. Sometimes you were not afraid of asking for too much. You were afraid of discovering that the person did not want to offer what you needed. Those are not the same fear. One says, "My needs are unreasonable." The other says, "My needs may be reasonable, and this person may still be unable or unwilling to meet them." The second truth can hurt more at first. It can also set you free from a great deal of unnecessary self-criticism, because incompatibility is not proof that you are defective. Another person's limitation is not an objective, a measurement of you. Someone can care about you and still not be capable of the relationship you want. Someone can admire you and still be inconsistent. Someone can feel attraction and still lack readiness. Someone can have good intentions and still create a dynamic that is painful for you. Someone can be a decent person and still not be the person with whom you can build peace. You do not need to turn anyone into a villain in order to take your own needs seriously. That is one of the strongest forms of emotional maturity. You can say, "I do not hate you, and this does not work for me." You can say, "I understand you, and I cannot continue in this pattern." You can say, "I care, and I need something different." You can say, "I believe you are doing what you know how to do, and I have learned that I need more consistency than this." No bitterness is required, no punishment, no revenge, no fantasy of someone realizing too late what they lost. Your freedom does not need their regret. Your healing does not need an audience. Your life does not become more valuable when someone who overlooked you finally recognizes it. The deeper shift happens when you recognize it. When you stop using another person's attention as the final authority on your value. When you stop treating interest as proof and distance as disproof. When you stop living as though every interaction contains a secret grade. You may have spent years trying to read those grades. Was I interesting enough? Was I attractive enough? Was I calm enough? Was I too emotional? Did I text too soon? Did I talk too much? Did I ask the wrong question? Was I too available? Should I have acted less interested? Should I have made them wonder? Should I have waited longer? Should I have pretended not to care? That entire way of relating puts you in a constant position of evaluation. You become both performer and judge. You study yourself while trying to connect. You monitor how you are coming across instead of living inside the conversation. You try to predict the effect of every honest sentence before you say it. You begin to believe that connection depends on perfect technique. It does not. Healthy relationships can survive ordinary humanity. A good connection does not collapse because you sent an imperfect message. It does not require flawless timing. It does not require strategic silence. It does not require you to become an expert in appearing unaffected. You are allowed to be a person. You are allowed to care. You are allowed to be interested. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to say something awkward and correct it. You are allowed to ask for clarification. You are allowed to have a day when you are more sensitive. You are allowed to need reassurance sometimes. You are allowed to be learning. Self-respect is not emotional perfection. It is staying connected to yourself while being connected to others. It is remembering that you remain a person with needs, limits, hopes, preferences, and choices even when you care deeply. It is resisting the old urge to hand over your entire sense of direction the moment someone becomes important to you. You can care without surrendering your center. You can be moved without becoming governed by every movement in someone else. You can listen without abandoning your own perception. You can compromise without making yourself smaller. You can be patient without waiting forever. You can forgive without reopening every relationship. You can wish someone well without giving them unlimited access to you. You can miss someone and still know that distance is healthier. You can feel tenderness and still choose clarity. Two truths can exist together. You loved what you hoped something could become, and you may now see what it actually is. You valued the connection, and you may need more than it can offer. You have compassion for another person, and you can have compassion for yourself too. You remember beautiful moments, and those moments do not erase patterns that hurt you. You can hold complexity without forcing yourself back into confusion. This is where something important begins to change. You stop asking only, "How do they feel about me?" You begin asking, "How do I feel while I am with them?" You stop asking only, "Will they choose me?" You begin asking, "Do I choose the life this dynamic creates?" You stop asking only, "What can I do to keep this?" You begin asking, "What happens to me when I keep this?" These questions do not make you selfish, they make you present. They return you to the part of the relationship you actually have responsibility for. Your participation, your choices, your honesty, your boundaries, your response to what is real. For a long time, you may have focused on becoming desirable. Now there is another question. What feels desirable to you? Not only who attracts you, not only who gives you butterflies, not only who awakens longing. What kind of communication do you desire? What kind of effort? What kind of emotional atmosphere? What kind of respect? What kind of repair after conflict? What kind of consistency? What kind of freedom to be yourself? Those questions can feel unfamiliar if you were trained to focus mainly on being chosen. You may have learned early that approval was something to earn. Maybe praise came when you were easy. Maybe affection felt safer when you were helpful. Maybe conflict made you anxious. Maybe you became very skilled at sensing other people's moods because it helped you know how to behave. Maybe you learned that having needs created tension. Maybe you learned to become agreeable before you even knew what you preferred. None of this means you were weak. It means you adapted. Human beings learn from the emotional environments around them. We learn what seems to create closeness. We learn what seems to create distance. We repeat those strategies long after we have forgotten where they began. A strategy that once helped you stay connected can later prevent you from knowing what genuine connection feels like. That is why compassion matters here. You are not fighting yourself. You are understanding yourself. You are seeing why certain patterns felt familiar. You are recognizing why uncertainty may have felt strangely compelling. You are learning why a calm person may once have seemed less exciting than someone unpredictable. You are learning why being pursued consistently may have made you suspicious, while inconsistency made you work harder. These patterns can change, not through shame, not through forcing, not by pretending you no longer care. They change as you begin to value steadiness more than emotional suspense. They change as you become less impressed by intensity that has no structure. They change as you stop confusing longing with compatibility. They change as you trust repeated behavior more than occasional declarations. They change as you stop calling anxiety chemistry. They change as you learn that peace can feel unfamiliar before it feels safe. You do not need to become someone else to make this shift. You need to become more available to your own truth. That may be the quiet message finding you tonight. Not a prediction about who will arrive. Not a guarantee about what happens next. A reminder of who you are becoming when you no longer organize yourself around uncertainty. You are becoming someone who can care without begging. Someone who can hope without bargaining with reality. Someone who can be open without being unprotected. Someone who can want closeness without abandoning discernment. Someone who can feel disappointment without turning it into a verdict on themselves. Someone who no longer has to chase clarity from people who repeatedly create confusion. You do not have to finish this change tonight. You only have to stop arguing with the part of you that already knows what peace feels like. That part has been speaking quietly. It has spoken after conversations that left you drained. It has spoken when you typed a message and deleted it because you knew you were trying to force reassurance. It has spoken when an excuse sounded reasonable, but your body still felt unsettled. It has spoken when you realized you were asking for very little and still feeling guilty for asking. It has spoken in the exhaustion that came from carrying both sides of a connection. You may have ignored that voice because you were afraid of what listening would require. That is understandable. Clarity can ask for change. Change can bring grief. Grief can make an old uncertainty look temporarily more comfortable than a new truth. You do not have to rush yourself. You can know something before you are ready to act on all of it. You can begin by telling yourself the truth. This is tiring me. This is confusing me. I keep making excuses. I keep trying to earn consistency. I keep reaching for reassurance and then feeling ashamed that I need it. I keep hoping one good moment will cancel a pattern. I keep making my needs smaller because I fear the answer. Truth like this is not cruel. Truth gives you something solid to work with. And once you are willing to see clearly, another truth becomes available. You are not asking for too much simply because one person cannot give it. You are not difficult because clarity matters to you. You are not needy because consistency helps you feel secure. You are not weak because uncertainty affected you. You are not foolish because you wanted something to work. You are not behind because you are learning this now. You are learning. You are returning. You are becoming less willing to trade inner peace for temporary closeness, and as this becomes real, the way you relate begins to change before anyone else has changed at all. There is a reason reaching harder rarely creates the security you are hoping for. When you are afraid that connection is slipping away, the natural impulse is often to increase effort. You explain more. You offer more. You become more available. You try to remove every possible reason someone might hesitate. You look for the perfect words. You search for the moment when one more conversation, one more kindness, one more act of patience will finally make the situation feel certain. It can seem logical. If something matters, surely more effort should help. And in healthy relationships, effort does matter. Care matters. Communication matters. Repair matters. Showing up matters. The difficulty begins when effort is being used to compensate for another person's lack of participation. Then, effort changes its emotional meaning. You are no longer contributing to something shared. You are trying to prevent something from disappearing. That difference can be felt, not through magic, not because people possess some hidden ability to read every thought you have. It is far more ordinary than that. Pressure changes behavior. Fear changes communication. Anxiety changes what you tolerate. When you are trying very hard not to lose someone, you may hesitate to disagree with them. You may become unusually quick to reassure. You may accept vague answers because asking again feels dangerous. You may offer more access than you actually feel comfortable giving. You may laugh at something that hurt. You may say you are fine before you have even checked whether you are. You may take responsibility for tension simply because being the one who apologizes seems safer than waiting to see whether the other person will repair it. Eventually, the connection begins to revolve around your fear of losing it. That is a heavy foundation for any relationship. It can make ordinary moments feel like tests. A delayed message becomes a test. A changed plan becomes a test. A quieter day becomes a test. A disagreement becomes a test. You begin asking yourself whether each moment means you are moving closer or farther away from being chosen. And because you cannot control another person's choices, you begin controlling the part you can reach most easily: yourself. You manage your words. You manage your expectations. You manage your reactions. You manage how quickly you respond. You manage how much you reveal. You manage whether you ask questions. You manage whether you admit disappointment. You manage your natural desire for closeness until connection begins to feel like a role you must perform correctly. It is difficult to rest inside a relationship when you are constantly auditioning for it. The heart becomes tired from being watched by its own mind. You deserve relationships in which effort is not a continuous attempt to prove that you belong. Calm self-respect has a different quality. It does not mean indifference. It does not mean withholding affection. It does not mean pretending you have no preferences. It does not mean using distance as a tactic to make someone pursue you. It means you stop treating your own needs as bargaining chips. You stop saying, in effect, "I will erase this part of myself if it makes staying easier for you." You begin to understand that your presence has value even when you are not performing usefulness. You do not have to constantly provide something in order to justify being cared for. You do not have to entertain someone every moment. You do not have to fix every difficult emotion. You do not have to make yourself endlessly convenient. You do not have to earn every conversation by being charming, helpful, peaceful, attractive, or endlessly understanding. Connection is not payment for good behavior. When you believe it is, you may unconsciously communicate that you will accept almost any arrangement as long as the relationship continues. People learn what is workable with us partly through what we consistently accept. Again, this is not mystical. It is human. If someone repeatedly arrives late and nothing changes, they may conclude that lateness has no meaningful consequence. If someone disappears for long periods and is welcomed back without discussion each time, that pattern may continue. If hurtful comments are repeatedly excused before accountability appears, the relationship may quietly organize itself around the assumption that repair is unnecessary. We teach through response as much as through speech. This does not mean every poor behavior is your responsibility. It is not. Another person owns their choices. Their dishonesty belongs to them. Their cruelty belongs to them. Their manipulation belongs to them. Their refusal to communicate belongs to them. Your responsibility begins with what you do once a pattern becomes visible. That is an empowering distinction. You do not control whether someone respects a boundary. You control whether you continue pretending the boundary does not matter. You do not control whether someone understands your needs. You control whether you keep denying those needs because misunderstanding feels frightening. You do not control whether someone becomes ready for healthy closeness. You control whether you build your life around waiting for that readiness. This is where self-respect begins to feel less like an idea and more like a practice. It becomes the pause before you volunteer to carry everything. It becomes the decision not to explain a clear sentence 6 different ways, just to make it easier for someone to accept. It becomes your willingness to hear an answer you do not prefer. It becomes your willingness to believe behavior that repeats. It becomes your refusal to confuse persistence with devotion. There are times when persistence is admirable. A marriage may require hard conversations. A family relationship may pass through difficult seasons. A friendship may need patience after a mistake. People are imperfect. We misunderstand each other. We disappoint each other. We become overwhelmed. We fail to communicate well. Healthy closeness is not free from difficulty. The question is not whether problems exist. The question is whether both people are willing to participate in facing them. A hard season shared by 2 people feels different from one person carrying a relationship alone. A misunderstanding followed by repair feels different from a pattern of avoidance. An occasional lapse feels different from chronic disregard. A sincere apology followed by changed behavior feels different from repeated apologies that protect the same behavior. You can learn to distinguish these things, and you can learn without becoming cynical. Discernment is not bitterness. Discernment is clarity joined with self-respect. It says, I can see the good in you without denying what hurts. It says, I can understand your reasons without volunteering to live with the consequences forever. It says, I do not need you to be bad in order for this to be wrong for me. That kind of clarity removes a great deal of unnecessary conflict from your inner world. You no longer have to build a case proving that someone is terrible. You only need to know whether the relationship is healthy enough for you to remain inside it. You no longer have to gather evidence for a courtroom that does not exist. You no longer need 10 dramatic examples before your discomfort counts. Sometimes a repeated feeling is information. Sometimes the fact that you are constantly confused is information. Sometimes the fact that you cannot ask a simple question without fearing punishment is information. Sometimes the fact that you feel relieved when someone is kind rather than naturally secure in their kindness is information. You can pay attention without turning every feeling into absolute truth. Feelings are not always facts. Fear can misread. Old wounds can react to harmless events. Anxiety can fill silence with stories. That is why discernment asks for both inner awareness and observable reality. What happened? How often? Was it discussed? Was there repair? Did behavior change? Can both people speak honestly? Is your nervous system responding to an old fear, a current pattern, or both? You do not have to choose between trusting your feelings and thinking clearly. You can do both. You can say, I know I have old fears, and this behavior still does not work for me. You can say, I know I become anxious sometimes, and I also need dependable communication. You can take responsibility for your healing without accepting responsibility for another person's choices. That balance is powerful. It prevents self-awareness from becoming self-blame. Some people become so committed to examining themselves that they explain away everything another person does. They ask whether they are triggered, whether they are projecting, whether they are being insecure, whether they need to be more patient, whether they are asking for reassurance because of the past. These can be useful questions, but there is another question that belongs beside them. Is the present situation actually healthy? Self-reflection should make your perception clearer. It should not train you to distrust yourself automatically. You are allowed to recognize both your own patterns and someone else's behavior. You can work on your fear of abandonment while also declining relationships that repeatedly threaten abandonment as a form of control. You can work on communication while also refusing contempt. You can work on patience while still expecting basic reliability. You can heal insecurity without becoming endlessly tolerant of inconsistency. Growth does not require you to accept everything calmly. Sometimes growth is leaving the conversation. Sometimes it is saying no. Sometimes it is asking for time. Sometimes it is telling the truth earlier. Sometimes it is refusing to keep proving a point to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes it is recognizing that the healthiest response is not another explanation. You may have been taught that good people endure, that loving people keep giving, that patient people wait, that loyal people stay. Those messages can become dangerous when they are separated from wisdom. Endurance is not automatically virtue. Giving is not automatically healthy. Waiting is not automatically faithful. Staying is not automatically brave. Sometimes courage looks like continuing. Sometimes courage looks like ending. The action itself does not decide its value. The truth of the situation matters. Your reasons matter. Your safety matters. Your well-being matters. Your capacity matters. You may need to hear that because part of you still believes your goodness is measured by how much discomfort you can absorb. It is not. Your goodness is not proven by suffering quietly. You do not become more deserving because you ask for less. You do not become more lovable because you never inconvenience anyone. You do not become easier to keep by ignoring your own limits. When a connection requires you to become smaller and smaller, keeping it can become another way of losing yourself. And this is where many old patterns become visible. Long before you were choosing romantic partners or adult friendships, you were learning what closeness required. Perhaps you learned to read the room before speaking. Perhaps you learned that some moods had to be managed. Perhaps praise arrived most reliably when you achieved something. Perhaps affection felt easier when you were useful. Perhaps expressing anger was discouraged. Perhaps sadness made other people uncomfortable. Perhaps you were expected to be mature too early. Perhaps you became the calm one, the responsible one, the easy one, the helper, the one who did not cause trouble. These identities can receive a great deal of approval. They can also teach you that belonging depends on a role. Then later, when you enter adult relationships, the old question returns quietly. What do I need to do to remain wanted? You may not hear the question in words. You feel it in behavior. You over-prepare. You overgive. You forgive quickly. You ask for little. You become highly responsive. You try to be indispensable. You confuse being needed with being valued. Being needed can feel powerful. If someone depends on you, perhaps they cannot leave. If you solve enough problems, perhaps you become essential. If you become the person who always understands, perhaps you will always have a place. But being essential is not the same as being cherished. Sometimes people keep what is useful without knowing how to care for the person providing it. You deserve more than usefulness. You deserve room to exist when you are not solving anything. Room to be tired. Room to be uncertain. Room to need care yourself. Room to say, I do not know. Room to have limits. Room to change your mind. Room to be human without fearing that your humanity will cost you connection. This is part of what it means to restore your relationship with yourself. You begin separating what you learned from what is true. You may have learned that conflict means abandonment. That does not make it true. You may have learned that asking for help makes you burdensome. That does not make it true. You may have learned that your role is to keep everyone comfortable. That does not make it true. You may have learned that affection must be earned. That does not make it true. You may have learned that other people's disappointment is an emergency. That does not make it true. Learned beliefs can feel like facts because they were repeated early. They can live so close to identity that questioning them feels almost dangerous. If you have carried the sentence, I am not enough, it may not sound dramatic inside you. It may sound practical. Try harder. Be better. Do not make mistakes. Do more. Be more attractive. Be more interesting. Be calmer. Need less. Give more. Prove yourself. Earn your place. A belief does not have to announce itself to guide your life. Sometimes it speaks through requirements. You tell yourself you will relax when you become more successful. You will feel confident when your body changes. You will feel secure when someone finally chooses you. You will feel deserving when you have healed every flaw. You will stop comparing when you have accomplished enough. You keep moving the point at which you are finally permitted to stand on your own side. There is always another condition, another improvement, another milestone, another person whose approval seems able to settle the question. But the question never stays settled when your answer depends entirely on external confirmation. Praise fades, attention changes, success becomes normal, beauty changes with time, people come and go. If your inner ground depends on everything around you remaining favorable, peace becomes fragile. You need a deeper place to stand, not arrogance, not the claim that you are perfect, not the belief that everyone should admire you, something much quieter. The understanding that your humanity does not disqualify you from respect, that mistakes do not erase your dignity, that rejection does not erase your dignity, that disappointment does not erase your dignity, that age does not erase your dignity, that someone failing to recognize you does not erase your dignity, that an ending does not erase your dignity, that being misunderstood does not erase your dignity. You do not become valuable when another person sees it. Recognition can feel wonderful. Affection can feel wonderful. Being chosen can feel wonderful. But those experiences do not manufacture your value. They meet something that was already there. This is why self-respect changes pursuit. When you believe another person holds the final answer to whether you matter, their attention becomes extremely powerful. A message can lift you. Silence can collapse you. A compliment can soothe you. Distance can make you question everything. You become emotionally dependent on signals you cannot control. When you begin standing on firmer ground, those signals still affect you. You are human. You may still feel disappointed. You may still miss someone. You may still wish a situation had gone differently. But the event no longer becomes a total definition of you. You can feel rejected without becoming rejection. You can experience loneliness without deciding you are unlovable. You can lose a relationship without deciding your future is empty. You can be disappointed without sentencing yourself. That is the restoration, not becoming untouched. Becoming less willing to turn every painful event against yourself. There may be an old version of you who needs tenderness tonight. The one who tried too hard. The one who waited. The one who ignored clear signs. The one who returned after promising not to. The one who accepted less because being alone felt terrifying. The one who mistook attention for commitment. The one who thought potential was the same as readiness. The one who kept hoping that enough devotion could change another person's capacity. Do not humiliate that version of yourself. Do not speak to yourself as though wisdom should have arrived before experience. You know now because you lived then. You see more because you survived what you could not yet understand. There is no need to punish yourself for learning slowly. Some lessons take years because they touch old needs. Some patterns repeat because they are tied to belonging, identity, and fear. Understanding them is not always a single realization. Often, it is a series of smaller recognitions. One day, you understand a boundary intellectually. Later, you speak it. Later still, you keep it. One day, you know that inconsistency hurts you. Later, you stop making excuses for it. One day, you say you deserve mutual care. Later, you choose according to that belief. There can be distance between insight and embodiment. That distance does not mean you have failed. It means learning is becoming lived experience. This is why patience with yourself matters. You are not late. You are not disqualified because you repeated a pattern. You are not a hypocrite because you knew better and still struggled. Knowing and doing are different stages. A nervous system can take longer to trust a new truth than the mind takes to understand it. You can respect that process without surrendering to old habits. You can say, I understand why this feels familiar, and I am choosing differently. You can feel the urge to reach out and still wait. You can feel the desire to over-explain and still keep your sentence clear. You can feel afraid of disappointing someone and still say no. You can miss what was familiar and still refuse to return to what diminished you. The goal is not to stop having old impulses. The goal is to stop treating every impulse as an instruction. That is freedom in a very practical form. You feel, you breathe, you consider, you choose. Little by little, your choices begin to reflect what you now know, and something remarkable happens when your behavior becomes more aligned with your inner truth. You trust yourself more. Not because every decision is perfect, because you stop repeatedly abandoning yourself in order to keep another person comfortable. Self-trust grows through evidence. You say you will protect your peace, and then you do. You say you will ask directly, and then you do. You say you will stop participating in a pattern, and then you follow through. You say you will rest instead of checking again, and you put the phone down. You say you will stop proving yourself, and you let another person form their own opinion. Each act becomes evidence that you are on your own side. That evidence matters, because for many years you may have looked outside yourself for someone who would finally make you feel secure. Now security begins becoming a relationship you build within. You become someone you can rely on, someone who listens when discomfort appears, someone who does not immediately dismiss their own needs, someone who does not shame themselves for caring, someone who can admit a mistake without collapsing into self-contempt, someone who can change direction when new information arrives, someone who does not force an old dream to remain alive after reality has changed. This kind of self-trust makes you more open, not less. You do not need as many defenses when you believe you will protect yourself if something goes wrong. You can meet people without deciding their role in your future immediately. You can enjoy interest without turning it into destiny. You can appreciate a connection while still learning what it is. You can remain curious. You can take your time. You can let character reveal itself through repetition. You can let promises become behavior before building your life around them. You can be hopeful without becoming attached to a particular ending. That is a peaceful way to remain open. You do not have to close your heart in order to stop chasing certainty. You can remain available to what is healthy, available to affection, available to friendship, available to partnership, available to unexpected goodness, available to experiences you have not planned. But openness does not mean saying yes to everything. A door is useful partly because it can open and close. Your discernment is part of your openness. Your boundaries make sincere connections safer. Your clarity makes deeper intimacy possible. When you do not have to hide what matters to you, someone has the opportunity to know the real you. And when you stop performing for acceptance, you get to learn who is actually compatible with that real person. That information is precious. It may save you years of trying to make a mismatch behave like a match. You are not here to convince every person to understand you. You are not here to become compatible with everyone. You are not here to prove that you can make any relationship succeed through enough effort. Some connections are lessons, some are seasons, some become lifelong bonds, some are brief, some teach you what you want, some teach you what you cannot continue accepting. Their length does not determine whether your life has meaning, and their ending does not mean you missed your only chance. There is still life ahead of you. There are still conversations you have not had. There are still people you have not met. There are still parts of yourself you have not fully known. There are still ordinary mornings in which peace may feel more beautiful than the intensity you once mistook for certainty. There are still choices that will surprise you because they come from a steadier version of you. The future does not need to be predicted tonight. It only needs space. Space from old scripts. Space from the belief that you must earn every good thing. Space from the fear that saying no closes every possibility. Space from the assumption that one lost connection means loss itself has become your destiny. The future can remain open. You can remain open too, not desperately, not blindly, with discernment, with patience, with a growing loyalty to what is true. You do not need to force the next chapter into existence. You are learning how to recognize what belongs in it. Strength does not always announce itself by moving quickly. Some of the strongest things in life take shape so gradually that from one day to the next, almost nothing appears to be happening. Think of an old oak. Not a young tree admired because it grew tall in a hurry. An oak that has remained through decades of weather. Its trunk is broad, its bark is marked, its branches have known heat, rain, cold, wind, and long quiet seasons when growth was invisible from the outside. If you could look within that trunk, you would find the history of its becoming. Ring after ring, one season laid beside another, not rushed, not skipped, not produced because the tree panicked about how large another tree had become. A dense ring added in its time. then another, then another. Years become strength in this way, slowly, quietly. From the outside, a single year may seem like very little. Inside the tree, that year becomes structure. What looks small becomes support. What looks delayed becomes density. The oak is not wasting time because it is not racing upward. It is becoming able to remain. That distinction matters for you. There are forms of growth that attract attention quickly. They look impressive because change is obvious. A sudden transformation, a dramatic decision, a new beginning announced with certainty, a complete reinvention. These moments can be meaningful, but not every important change arrives that way. Some changes are made in layers so subtle that only time reveals how powerful they became. You decline one thing you would once have accepted, a ring. You ask one honest question instead of guessing for 3 days. A ring. You let someone be disappointed without immediately rescuing them from the feeling. A ring. You stop sending a second explanation after your first explanation was already clear. A ring. You spend an evening with yourself without interpreting solitude as evidence that you have been forgotten. A ring. You believe a repeated pattern sooner. A ring. You keep one promise to yourself that no one else knows about. A ring. None of these moments may look dramatic. There may be no applause. There may be no visible transformation. Yet something is becoming denser inside you. Your ability to remain rooted in your own judgment. Your ability to tolerate uncertainty without running toward the nearest source of reassurance. Your ability to let another person reveal what they are willing to offer. Your ability to stay open without making yourself available for anything. Your ability to distinguish longing from direction. These are deep changes. They rarely happen in one brilliant moment. They are laid down through repetition. This is why you do not need to be impatient with your healing. You may sometimes look at yourself and think you should be further along. You may remember a pattern you promised you would never repeat and feel discouraged because some part of it appeared again. You may wonder why you still feel activated by silence, why you still want reassurance, why part of you still becomes afraid when someone pulls away, why an old disappointment can suddenly feel close again. But growth is not proven by never feeling what you once felt. Growth can be seen in what you do next. The oak still meets storms after it becomes strong. Its strength does not mean the wind stops. Its branches still move. Its leaves still shake. Rain still strikes the bark. Cold still enters the season. What changes is its capacity to remain rooted through conditions it cannot control. You are learning something similar. You are not trying to create a life in which no one ever disappoints you. That life does not exist. You are not trying to guarantee that every relationship lasts. You cannot. You are not trying to eliminate uncertainty from human connection. No one can do that completely. You are becoming stronger in the presence of what you cannot control. That is a much more reliable kind of security. It does not depend on everyone behaving exactly as you hope. It does not depend on always knowing what comes next. It does not depend on never being rejected. It does not depend on never losing something you cared about. It depends more and more on knowing that you will remain with yourself, whatever happens. That is one of your deepest rings. The knowledge that you do not have to abandon yourself when life becomes uncertain. You may You may grieve. You may need time. You may need support. You may change your mind. You may feel frightened. But you do not have to become your own enemy. You do not have to interpret every painful experience as proof that something is wrong with you. You do not have to strip yourself of dignity because someone else made a different choice. The oak does not argue with the season. It does not call itself defective because winter arrived. It does not decide its years of growth were meaningless because a branch was lost. It continues adding what the next season makes possible. This is where the image becomes useful. Not as a promise that everything will turn out according to your preference, not as a prediction that patience guarantees a particular relationship. The lesson is more grounded. What you build slowly can become difficult to uproot. Self-trust built through repeated action becomes sturdier than confidence built only from praise. Discernment built through experience becomes sturdier than excitement. A clear boundary practiced over time becomes sturdier than one dramatic declaration made in anger. A peaceful relationship with yourself becomes sturdier than the temporary relief of being wanted by someone who keeps you uncertain. Dense growth is not flashy. It does not need to be. Its power appears when conditions become difficult. Perhaps there was a time when one delayed reply could take over your evening. Now it may still bother you, but it does not own the whole night. That is growth. Perhaps there was a time when someone pulling back made you immediately reach forward. Now you can wait long enough to understand what is actually happening. That is growth. Perhaps you once thought that every ending meant you had failed. Now you can recognize that some endings protect truths you could no longer ignore. That is growth. Perhaps you once agreed quickly because you feared losing an opportunity. Now you give yourself time to decide. That is growth. Perhaps you once believed being chosen was the most important question. Now you also ask whether what is choosing you belongs in the life you are building. That is growth. These changes are easy to underestimate because they do not always produce immediate rewards. Sometimes keeping a boundary makes a situation quieter. Sometimes honesty reveals incompatibility. Sometimes refusing to overfunction means a connection fades because your effort was the main thing sustaining it. That can hurt. It can even tempt you to return to the old pattern. You might think, if I had just tried harder, perhaps this would still be here. But ask yourself what still being here would require. Would you have to resume carrying more than your share? Would you have to return to uncertainty? Would you have to keep proving that your needs are reasonable? Would you have to overlook the essay, "Me behavior again"? Would you have to abandon the very strength you are trying to build? Growth sometimes removes what depended on your lack of boundaries. That is not failure. It is information. When an oak thickens, it does not become less alive. It becomes more able to carry its own height. Your standards work this way, not as walls thrown up against life, as internal structure. You become more capable of holding what you say matters. You become less likely to collapse your own position the moment another person disagrees. You become less likely to negotiate against yourself before the conversation even begins. You become less likely to confuse someone's disappointment with evidence that your choice was wrong. That firmness may feel unfamiliar, especially if you have spent years adapting quickly to other people. At first, staying with your own decision can feel almost rude. You may feel guilty after saying no. You may want to add an explanation, then another explanation, then an apology, then an offer that partly cancels the boundary. This does not mean the boundary is wrong. It may mean your old pattern is searching for its familiar path. A new ring is forming. Let it form. You do not have to make the process perfect. You only have to keep returning to what you know. Slow strength is built through returns. You forget. Then remember. You overextend, then correct. You ignore yourself for a moment, then come back. You send the message, then learn from why you sent it. You accept something you wish you had declined, then become clearer the next time. This is not wasted growth. An imperfect year still becomes part of the trunk. Your life does not have to contain only good decisions in order to become wise. Wisdom includes the marks left by decisions that taught you something expensive. The oak's bark is not smooth because survival does not require untouched surfaces. Age leaves texture. Weather leaves texture. Time leaves texture. You may carry texture too. Disappointments, misjudgments, relationships you stayed in too long, chances you did not take, words you wish you had spoken sooner, times you betrayed your own intuition because you wanted another answer to be true. These marks do not make you less ready for a healthy life. They may make you more capable of recognizing one. Experience can refine you when you do not turn it into self-condemnation. You begin to know the difference between attention and consistency, between desire and capacity, between charm and character, between apology and repair, between being wanted in a moment and being treated with care over time, between someone enjoying what you give and someone valuing who you are. These distinctions are rings too. They were earned. Do not throw them away merely because part of you misses the simplicity of believing that strong feelings were enough. Yuki, now, more now. You may sometimes wish you knew less. It can feel easier to romanticize than to discern, easier to hope than to evaluate, easier to create a future in your mind than to ask what exists in the present. But clarity is not the enemy of romance. Clarity helps affection stand on something real. Without it, fantasy can become responsible for carrying what the relationship itself has not built. You no longer need fantasy to do all that work. You can appreciate what is present without assigning it a future too quickly. You can let connection develop at the speed of truth. That speed may be slower than your longing. Let it be. The strongest oak does not rush its rings because spring feels beautiful. A warm season does not erase the need for depth. Likewise, a beautiful beginning does not tell you everything you need to know. Early attention can be sincere and still be incomplete information. Chemistry can be real and still be incomplete information. Shared interests can be real and still be incomplete information. Kind words can be real and still be incomplete information. Time reveals qualities that attraction cannot measure quickly. Can someone communicate when things become uncomfortable? Can they take responsibility? Can they respect a no? Can they remain kind when disappointed? Can they hear your perspective without punishing you for having one? Can they follow through? Can they admit uncertainty honestly rather than offering promises they cannot keep? Can they make space for your life rather than asking your life to orbit theirs? You learn these things over time. There is wisdom in not rushing the answer. Slow does not mean stagnant. Slow can mean thorough. Slow can mean you are letting reality participate in your decisions. Slow can mean you are no longer asking longing to make conclusions before experience has spoken. The old part of you may become impatient. It may want certainty now. It may want to know whether this person is right, whether this opportunity will last, whether the next chapter will finally be the one you hoped for. You can be kind to that urgency without obeying it. You can say, I understand that you want to know. Then give yourself time anyway. That is another dense ring. The ability to remain present before the answer arrives. You do not have to force clarity by interrogating every moment. Some clarity comes from observation. You live, you watch, you listen, you let patterns accumulate. You compare words with actions. You pay attention to how you feel without worshiping every passing feeling. You give reality room to show itself. That is a strong posture because it does not ask you to control the outcome. It asks you to participate with open eyes. There may have been years when you wanted life to move faster because speed felt like reassurance. A quick commitment, a quick answer, a quick sign, a quick decision. Quick certainty seemed safer than waiting. Now you can begin learning another safety, the safety of not needing to know everything immediately. The safety of trusting your ability to respond when more information arrives. The safety of understanding that a good future does not require you to correctly predict every person. You are allowed to discover. You are allowed to adjust. You are allowed to say yes and later realize the answer needs to become no. You are allowed to be interested without promising your entire future. You are allowed to take something one season at a time. A strong life is not built by never changing direction. It is built by remaining responsive to truth. The oak grows toward light, but it also adapts to what each year brings. Some rings are wider, some narrower. Drought leaves its mark. Abundance leaves its mark. Still, the years belong together. Your growth will not look identical in every season either. There may be months when you feel brave and clear. There may be weeks when older fears become louder. There may be times when loneliness makes you question decisions that were made from wisdom. There may be times when being alone seems harder than returning to what was familiar. Do not measure your entire transformation by one difficult evening. One narrow ring does not erase the trunk. One vulnerable day does not erase years of learning. One moment of missing someone does not mean you should return. One moment of doubt does not mean your boundary was wrong. One emotional wave does not become your identity. You have more structure inside you than a passing feeling can reveal. Trust the accumulated years. Trust the things you have learned repeatedly. Trust the evidence created by your own choices. You are not beginning from nothing. There is already strength beneath you. Even the lessons you wish you had learned differently have contributed to it. This is where receiving changes meaning. Receiving is not sitting still while expecting life to deliver everything you desire. It is not assuming that good things are guaranteed because you think positively. It is not surrendering judgment because something feels exciting. Real openness includes readiness. You become able to accept what is good without immediately doubting it. Able to accept a compliment without arguing against it. Able to accept kindness without wondering what debt it creates. Able to accept help without feeling ashamed. Able to accept rest without believing you must earn exhaustion first. Able to accept clear affection without searching for hidden danger. Able to accept consistent behavior without manufacturing uncertainty because uncertainty once felt familiar. Sometimes the challenge is not finding something healthier. Sometimes the challenge is staying present when healthier treatment arrives. If your history trained you to associate closeness with unpredictability, steadiness can initially feel quiet, almost too quiet. You may wonder where the intensity went. You may mistake peace for lack of chemistry. You may become suspicious of someone who says what they mean because you are accustomed to decoding. You may feel an urge to create distance simply because there is no puzzle to solve. This is another place where slower growth helps. You do not have to decide instantly whether calm is boring or safe. Give yourself time to learn a new emotional language. Consistency may not create the same rush as uncertainty. That can be a good thing. The body that has lived on emotional suspense may need time to recognize steadiness as nourishing. Nothing is wrong because the new pattern feels unfamiliar. You are laying down another ring. You are becoming someone who can remain in the presence of goodness without immediately searching for a catch. Someone who can hear a clear yes without needing to test it. Someone who can accept a sincere compliment without shrinking it. Someone who can let care arrive without performing extra labor to deserve it. Someone who can rest before exhaustion forces rest. Someone who can be supported as well as supportive. This is not passivity, it is balance. You have spent enough time learning how to give. Now you are learning how not to interrupt what is offered sincerely. You are learning how to keep your hands open without grasping, how to stay receptive without becoming indiscriminate, how to appreciate what comes without making it responsible for proving your value. That balance can become your new strength. And because it is being built slowly, you do not have to force yourself into complete belief tonight. If some part of you resists these words, let that part remain honest. It may say, "I do not know whether I trust this yet." That is okay. You do not have to pretend. Belief that is forced rarely becomes deep. Begin smaller. You might say, "I am willing to trust slower growth." You do not have to know exactly where it leads. You only have to become willing to stop treating speed as proof. Then, when the words feel comfortable enough, let a fuller sentence settle. I deepen slowly, and what fits opens. Do not push it. Let it land where it can. I deepen slowly, and what fits opens. There is no demand inside that sentence. No named person, no guarantee, no deadline. Only a relationship between your growing depth and the life you are becoming more prepared to meet. One more time, without effort. I deepen slowly, and what fits opens. You do not have to repeat it perfectly after tonight. The sentence is not magic. Its value is in what it reminds you to practice. Depth before urgency, reality before fantasy, self-trust before performance, discernment before attachment, and steadiness before intensity. You do not have to rush because you are afraid the good will disappear. What truly suits your life must also be able to meet the person you are becoming. Not only the person who overgave, not only the person who adapted, not only the person who accepted whatever kept connection alive. The fuller you, the clearer you, the one with roots, the one with history, the one whose life now contains enough inner structure to support something mutual. You have survived seasons you once thought would break you, and they did not leave you empty. They left rings. A stronger inner life changes what you are willing to call normal. Not overnight, not through one dramatic promise. It changes because you begin taking your own experience seriously. You stop measuring every situation by whether someone might leave. You begin measuring it by whether staying requires you to leave yourself. That question can be uncomfortable. It can also become deeply clarifying, because there are times when you have called something patience that was actually fear. Times when you have called something understanding that was actually self-silencing. Times when you have called something loyalty that was actually difficulty letting go. Times when you have called something hope that was really the refusal to accept what repeated behavior had already shown you. There is no shame in seeing this now. Awareness is not an accusation. It is a form of care. You are learning to recognize where your life has been organized around the possibility of being chosen rather than the experience of being treated well. And once you recognize that difference, your decisions can begin to change. You may still want connection. You may still want partnership. You may still want closeness, tenderness, conversation, affection, shared mornings, trusted companionship, and a life that includes another person. Wanting those things does not make you weak. You do not need to pretend you have become above human longing. You do not need to convince yourself that you never need anyone. That kind of performance is another form of fear. Independence does not require emotional exile. Self-respect does not require isolation. You can desire closeness and still refuse to bargain away yourself in order to have it. Those two truths belong together. This is where your inner standards become less about demanding perfection from others and more about knowing what conditions help you remain well. A standard is not a list designed to make someone prove their value to you. It is not a weapon. It is not a way to control behavior. It is not a test that another person must pass perfectly. It is a statement of what you can participate in with integrity. You might decide that honesty matters. That does not mean no one will ever struggle to tell the truth. It means dishonesty cannot become the normal language of your closest relationships. You might decide that consistency matters. That does not mean someone must be available every moment. It means prolonged uncertainty cannot be the structure holding the relationship together. You might decide that respect matters. That does not mean disagreement disappears. It means disagreement does not become humiliation, intimidation, contempt, or punishment. You might decide that communication matters. That does not mean every conversation is graceful. It means problems can eventually be named without one person carrying all the responsibility for making discussion possible. You might decide that your time matters. That does not mean plans never change. It means your time is not repeatedly treated as though it has no cost. You might decide that reciprocity matters. That does not mean every day is perfectly equal. It means care does not flow permanently in one direction. These choices are not demands placed on the whole world. They are filters for your participation. You are saying, "This is the kind of environment in which I can remain open." That is very different from saying, "Everyone must behave according to my wishes. People are free to be who they are." You are free to decide how close you stand to what they repeatedly show you. There is dignity in that freedom. You do not have to make another person wrong in order to step back. You do not have to prove that your preference is universal. You only need to know what helps you remain honest, grounded, and whole. A person may prefer a level of closeness that is different from yours. Neither person has to be evil. A person may want a kind of commitment that does not match yours. Neither person has to be defective. A person may communicate in a way that leaves you chronically anxious, even if they do not intend harm. Intent matters. Impact matters too. Compatibility asks you to consider both. This is why clearer standards reduce the urge to pursue. When you have no internal measure, every connection can become an argument you have with yourself. You keep asking whether you should tolerate more, whether you should wait longer, whether you should say less, whether you should explain again, whether you should lower the expectation, whether you should give another chance, whether you are being unfair. Clearer standards do not remove every difficult decision. They reduce the number of times you must renegotiate your basic needs from the beginning. You begin to know yourself. You know that prolonged ambiguity drains you. You know that being mocked during conflict closes your heart. You know that repeated cancellations damage trust. You know that secrecy creates unease. You know that emotional punishment is not something you want to normalize. You know that affection without reliability does not sustain you. You know that to promises without action do not build enough structure. Knowing these things saves energy that used to be spent arguing against yourself. You may still feel sad when a connection cannot meet them. Clarity does not cancel grief. Sometimes clarity creates grief because it ends the fantasy that something will become what you need if you wait long enough. But grief and self-betrayal are not the same thing. You can survive grief without abandoning yourself. You already have. There is more strength in you than the frightened part remembers. That strength was not formed quickly. It was built over seasons. Each time you lived through something you thought you could not bear, another layer of knowledge became part of you. Each time you recovered from disappointment, another layer. Each time you said the truth after months of avoiding it, another layer. Each time you walked away from what kept hurting you, another layer. Each time you remained instead of running from a healthy conversation, another layer. Each time you admitted that you had been wrong and repaired what you could, another layer. Strength is not only the ability to leave. Sometimes it is the ability to stay without hiding. Sometimes it is apologizing without losing dignity. Sometimes it is hearing feedback without collapsing. Sometimes it is admitting that your fear has been shaping a story that is not fully accurate. Sometimes it is letting someone care for you when receiving care feels unfamiliar. A sturdy inner life can hold correction as well as conviction. You do not need to believe you are always right in order to respect yourself. In fact, self-respect can make it easier to admit mistakes because a mistake no longer threatens your entire identity. You can say, "I handled that poorly." You can say, "I was afraid." You can say, "I assumed something that was not true." You can say, "I need to do better." You can repair without groveling. You can take responsibility without deciding you are terrible. You can grow without making shame your teacher. This matters because relationships are not strengthened by two people who never fail. They are strengthened when people can tell the truth about failure and respond to it. You are not seeking a person who never disappoints you. You are learning to value people who can recognize disappointment, care about its effect, and participate in repair. And you are becoming someone who can offer the same. This is mutuality. It is more substantial than chemistry, more useful than fantasy, more durable than attention that arrives only when convenient. You may have overlooked mutuality in the past because you were focused on intensity. Many people do. Intensity is easy to recognize. Mutuality can be quieter. It appears in follow-through, in remembering, in checking in making room, in asking rather than assuming, in apologizing, in showing up when the moment is ordinary and there is nothing, G to win, in respecting your separate life, in encouraging your growth rather than needing you small enough to control, in being happy that you have other sources of support, in hearing no without turning it into punishment, in letting you have a voice. These things can seem almost unremarkable compared with grand declarations. Over time, they become the architecture of trust. You may be learning to prefer what lasts over what dazzles. That preference can reshape your entire emotional world. You begin to care less about whether someone can create a powerful first impression, and more about whether their presence remains dependable after the first impression fades. You begin to care less about dramatic promises and more about ordinary consistency. You begin to care less about being intensely desired and more about being deeply respected. You begin to understand that excitement and safety do not have to be enemies. Warmth can be alive without being chaotic. Passion does not require confusion. Closeness does not require fear. Commitment does not require possession. You do not have to choose between being desired and being treated well. If your past taught you otherwise, let your future teach you something new. Let it happen slowly. One ring at a time. You may still meet people who awaken an old pattern. Someone may be charming but vague. Someone may be warm and then distant. Someone may create a strong connection but lack the capacity to build something stable. Someone may say the right things without being able to live them consistently. Your progress is not measured by never feeling drawn to such people. Attraction is not an ethical decision. You can feel drawn and still choose carefully. You can feel chemistry and still ask questions. You can feel hopeful and still take your time. You can acknowledge desire without handing desire the steering wheel. That is maturity without numbness. It says, I can feel this fully and still decide according to what is healthy for me. You do not have to kill the feeling. You do not have to romanticize it either. You can let a feeling be a feeling, not a prophecy, not a contract, not proof that something must happen. That distinction protects your freedom. There may also be someone who offers steadiness and does not activate the familiar urge to prove yourself. That experience can feel strange. You may wonder whether something is missing. You may find yourself waiting for the uncertainty, waiting for the withdrawal, waiting for the moment you must compete for attention. If that has been your history, a calm connection may ask for a different kind of courage. The courage not to create a test, not to withdraw first just to see whether they come after you, not to manufacture distance so you can measure how much they care, not to punish them for the behavior of people who came before, not to treat consistency as suspicious simp. Lie because inconsistency once felt familiar. You can take time. You can speak honestly. You can say that trust develops slowly for you. You can let someone know you are learning. Healthy people do not require you to arrive completely healed. They do need the chance to relate to what is true. You can offer that truth, and you can watch what happens. Do they respect the pace? Do they listen? Do they pressure? Do they make your history about themselves? Do they become defensive because trust is not instant? Do they show steadiness without demanding immediate reward? Time reveals. There is no need to rush the verdict. You can let another ring form, then another. You can see what the structure becomes. This is the deeper meaning of readiness. It is not being flawless before good things happen. It is having enough inner structure to participate differently when opportunities appear. You become able to recognize kindness without clinging to it, able to recognize inconsistency without chasing it, able to accept care without turning it into debt, able to leave what harms you without needing everyone to agree with your decision, able to stay curious without handing away judgment, able to hear praise without building your identity entirely from it, able to hear criticism without accepting every criticism as truth. Readiness is not passivity, it is preparedness. And preparedness is something you can build. Tonight, you can build it by choosing a few quiet truths. You do not need to compete for what requires mutual participation. You do not need to beg clarity from someone committed to vagueness. You do not need to shrink your needs until they disappear. You do not need to make your life smaller so another person can remain comfortable. You do not need to turn another person's indecision into your full-time emotional work. You do not need to confuse being available with being endlessly accessible. Your time can have shape. Your attention can have direction. Your care can have discernment. Your openness can have a gate. The old oak is not weak because it does not give every branch to every wind. Its strength comes partly from structure. Your life can have structure too. There are things you permit close, things you observe from a distance, things you release, things you protect, things you cultivate. This is not hardness. It is stewardship. Your inner life deserves stewardship. Your body deserves it. Your peace deserves it. Your future deserves it. And if a relationship threatens your physical safety, repeatedly harms your emotional well-being, uses fear or control against you, isolates you from support, or makes you afraid to seek help, these words are not meant to replace real support. Affirmations do not make an unsafe relationship safe. Self-reflection does not remove another person's harmful behavior. If your body or spirit is being harmed, reaching toward trusted people, qualified professionals, or appropriate local support can be an act of strength. You do not have to spiritualize danger. You do not have to meditate yourself into tolerating harm. Your safety matters in the real world. Your life matters beyond any relationship. And asking for help does not make your inner work less meaningful. Sometimes support is one of the ways strong roots are protected. Hold that plainly. There is no prize for surviving everything alone. For other situations that are not unsafe but are simply painful, mismatched, inconsistent, or unfulfilling, you can still honor what you know. You do not have to wait until something becomes terrible before deciding it is not right for you. You are allowed to leave what is merely wrong for your life. You are allowed to say, "This is not what I want." That sentence does not require a courtroom. It does not require universal agreement. It requires honesty. There is power in learning that you can disappoint someone and still remain a caring person. You can change your mind. You can decline. You can ask for space. You can end a conversation respectfully. You can stop participating in an arrangement you once accepted. You can decide that something no longer fits. Other people may have feelings about your decision. They are allowed to. Their feelings do not automatically become instructions for you. This may be one of the hardest rings to build if you learned that other people's disappointment meant you had done something wrong. Disappointment is not always evidence of wrongdoing. Sometimes it is the natural result of two people wanting different things. Sometimes someone is disappointed because your boundary removes an advantage they enjoyed. Sometimes someone is disappointed because reality does not match their hope. Sometimes you will be disappointed too. Human connection contains disappointment. Maturity is not eliminating it. It is learning how to move through it without cruelty, manipulation, or self-erasure. You can say no kindly. You can receive no with dignity. You can tell the truth without humiliation. You can hear the truth without retaliation. You can let an ending be sad without making it ugly. You can let another person walk their path without trying to force yourself into it. And you can walk yours. This is where your core sentence can deepen. I deepen slowly, and what fits opens. It does not tell you to wait forever. It does not tell you that every closed door is secretly preparing to open. It does not tell you that persistence guarantees access. It reminds you that your task is not to break yourself against what remains closed. Your task is to keep becoming capable of recognizing what genuinely fits. Sometimes what fits is a yes. Sometimes what fits is a no that protects your future. Sometimes what fits is a delay that gives you information. Sometimes Hat fits is a conversation. Sometimes it is distance. Sometimes it is accepting support. Sometimes it is being alone long enough to hear your own preferences again. You do not need every opening to be external. Some of the most important openings happen inside you. You become open to believing a compliment, open to asking for help, open to resting, open to being treated well without searching for a trap, open to ending an old pattern, open to choosing differently, open to the possibility that peace does not have to be earned through suffering first. That kind of openness changes what you can recognize. And if these words are touching something you want to claim for yourself, you can make one small declaration here. You can write, I am worthy, not as a command to life, not as a demand that anyone choose you, as a reminder of the position you are practicing within yourself. I am worthy of honesty. I am worthy of rest. I am worthy of mutual care. I am worthy of speaking clearly. I am worthy of taking my time. I am worthy of changing direction. I am worthy of being treated with respect. You do not have to prove each sentence tonight. You can let willingness come first. If I am worthy, feels too far away, use a smaller bridge. I am willing to stop arguing against my own value. That is enough for now. You do not need emotional fireworks. A ring can form quietly. A decision can become stronger without anyone seeing it. You can wake tomorrow and still have doubts, still have habits, still have moments when the old pattern calls you back. The work remains valid because your life is not changed by one perfect night. It is changed by what you practice after the night is over. One choice, then another. A conversation handled differently. A boundary kept a little longer. A need spoken a little sooner. An apology offered without self-abandonment. An invitation declined without an hour of explanation. A compliment accepted with a simple thank you. A quiet evening not turned into evidence of loneliness. A disappointment felt without running back to what caused it. These are the ways inner strength becomes visible. Small, dense, real. And over time, you may realize that you are no longer living from the same place that once made every uncertain connection feel urgent. The urgency begins to loosen. You become slower to attach your identity to an outcome, slower to assume, slower to pursue what has not shown mutual movement, slower to abandon your own needs. At the same time, you become quicker in other ways, quicker to recognize respect, quicker to speak honestly, quicker to leave contempt unnamed only once before addressing it, quicker to appreciate consistency, quicker to believe your own experience, quicker to choose peace when chaos offers another familiar invitation. This is not becoming less loving. It is becoming less available for confusion that requires you to betray yourself. You can still be generous, still be tender, still forgive, still hope, still care deeply. But your care no longer has to flow without direction. It can come from roots. It can come from a life that has learned what it costs to grow strong. And because you have learned, you do not need to rush the next thing. Let what is true become visible. Let actions gather. Let time speak. Let character show itself. Let your own responses show themselves too. You are learning about others. You are also learning about you. The person you are becoming does not need to know the entire future. She needs only enough clarity to honor the next truthful choice. That is how a strong life continues. One ring, one season, one honest choice at a time. The deeper your roots become, the less you need every moment to reassure you. This does not mean you stop caring about what happens. It means uncertainty no longer has unlimited access to your attention. You begin to understand that there is a difference between being open and being preoccupied. Openness leaves room. Preoccupation fills every room with one question. Will this work? Will they stay? Will I be chosen? Will the answer come? Will something finally change? When the mind lives inside those questions for too long, even good moments can become difficult to enjoy. You are always leaning toward the next piece of information, the next message, the next sign, the next confirmation. You may be physically present in one place while emotionally waiting somewhere else. This kind of waiting can become a habit. You wake and check. You move through the day and wonder. You lie down and replay. The body rests while the mind continues standing at the edge of uncertainty. Tonight, you are practicing another way. You do not need to solve every unanswered question before sleep. You do not need to determine whether every relationship has a future. You do not need to predict which opportunity will become important. You do not need to know which conversation will change something. You can leave some questions unanswered without leaving yourself unprotected. That is what inner structure gives you. It lets uncertainty remain uncertainty. It stops uncertainty from becoming a verdict. If someone has not decided, that is information about their position. It does not become a judgment of your value. If an opportunity has not opened, it remains unopened for now. It does not become proof that nothing good is possible. If a connection has ended, the ending is real. It does not become a prophecy about every connection that could follow. This is the quiet discipline of refusing to turn one event into an identity. You may have done that before. One rejection became, "No one will choose me." One betrayal became, "No one can be trusted." One period of loneliness became, "I will always be alone." One mistake became, "I ruin everything." One season of uncertainty became, "Nothing works out for me." Pain tends to speak in absolutes. It takes one moment and tries to stretch it across the whole future. You do not have to believe every conclusion pain offers. You can honor what hurt without giving it authority over everything that has not happened yet. A difficult chapter can remain a chapter. A closed connection can remain one connection. A disappointment can remain one disappointment. You do not need to enlarge it into destiny. Your future deserves to be met directly, not only through the memory of what hurt you before. This is another way you become more receptive to what is healthy. You stop requiring the future to resemble the past. You stop assuming that because one person could not meet you well, no one can. You stop assuming that because you once ignored your own needs, you will always do so. You stop assuming that because you once accepted confusion, confusion is what you are destined to repeat. You are capable of learning. That changes what comes next because it changes how you participate in what comes next. You ask different questions. You move at a different pace. You recognize different qualities. You respond to early discomfort differently. You value your own peace earlier. That does not control the world. It changes your part in the pattern. Your part matters. You cannot decide who enters your life. You can decide how quickly you hand over authority. You cannot force another person to communicate clearly. You can decide whether you keep translating silence into hope. You cannot guarantee that someone will remain consistent. You can decide what repeated inconsistency means for your participation. You cannot make every door open. You can stop bruising yourself against one that does not. There is tenderness in this kind of restraint. You are no longer using force against yourself. You are no longer telling your heart that it must keep trying until another person finally gives you permission to stop. You are permitted to stop because you know enough. You are permitted to rest because you have carried enough. You are permitted to let reality finish sentences you once kept rewriting. There is peace in letting something be what it is, even when what it is disappoints you, even when you hoped for more, even when there were beautiful moments, even when part of you still wonders what could have happened under different circumstances. You can hold tenderness without turning tenderness into obligation. You can remember without returning. You can care without reopening every door. You can wish someone well and still choose distance. You can stop trying to convert an incomplete situation into a complete one through effort alone. The tree does not force one branch to become the whole forest. It continues growing where growth is possible. You can do the same. There are parts of your life already asking for attention. Your sleep, your health, your friendships, your work, your creativity, your quiet, your laughter, your home, your future plans, your relationship with your own body, your capacity to enjoy an ordinary day without needing romantic uncertainty to make the day feel significant. These parts of your life deserve your presence. A connection should not have to become painful before you remember the rest of your life exists. Your attention is precious. Where you place it shapes the texture of your days. If you spend hours interpreting someone who offers little clarity, those hours are still part of your life. If you spend evenings checking whether someone has responded, those evenings are still part of your life. If you repeatedly cancel your own plans because someone might become available, those choices still shape your life. Time is not waiting for your uncertainty to resolve before becoming your life. This moment already counts. Tonight counts. The quiet room counts. Your breath counts. The way you speak to yourself after disappointment counts. The decision to stop investigating what another person meant and return to what you know counts. You are not between lives. You are living now. And as that truth becomes more solid, another kind of attraction begins. Not a trick for making someone pursue you, not a performance of distance. A natural change in what your attention communicates. A person rooted in their own life feels different from a person waiting to be given one. There is space around them. They can be interested without becoming consumed. They can say yes without abandoning everything else. They can say no without using rejection as revenge. They can enjoy connection without trying to possess its future. They are available, but not vacant. Their life is already inhabited. You are learning to inhabit yours. This can begin with very ordinary things. Finish what matters to you before checking again. Keep a plan you made with yourself. Call the friend you have been meaning to call. Read what interests you. Make the meal you like. Go where you said you would go. Tend to the work that gives you pride. Sleep because tomorrow deserves a rested version of you. These are not distractions from connection. They are your life. And a good relationship joins a life. It should not require you to stop having one. There is room for another person beside your purpose. There is room for affection beside your friendships. There is room for closeness beside solitude. There is room for partnership beside individuality. Healthy intimacy does not ask two people to become one unfinished person. It lets two whole lives meet, influence each other, and create something shared without destroying what makes each person distinct. You are allowed to keep yourself. That sentence may sound obvious. For some people, it takes years to live. You are allowed to keep your interests, your friendships, your opinions, your private thoughts, your pace, your ambitions, your need for rest, your sense of humor, your traditions, your time alone, your own relationship with meaning. You do not have to merge completely in order to belong. Closeness is not disappearance. Being deeply connected does not require the borders of your inner world to vanish. The strongest trees can stand near one another without becoming the same trunk. Their roots may share the same ground. Their branches may meet. They may receive the same rain. Still, each tree has its own center. You can have a center too. That center is where you return when affection becomes exciting, when conflict becomes difficult, when longing becomes loud, when someone praises you, when someone disappoints you, when a new possibility appears, when an old memory returns. You come back to yourself, not to isolate, to orient. What do I know? What do I feel? What is actually happening? What do I need? What belongs to me? What belongs to the other person? What choice lets me remain in integrity? You do not have to answer every question immediately. Sometimes the return itself is enough. The old impulse may say, "Do something now." Your deeper self can say, "I can wait until I am clear." The old impulse may say, "Explain again." Your deeper self can say, I have already spoken honestly. The old impulse may say, make them understand. Your deeper self can say, understanding cannot be forced. The old impulse may say, if you stop trying, you will lose everything. Your deeper self can say, what requires my self-abandonment is already costing too much. This is how one season becomes part of another. A reaction becomes a pause. A pause becomes a choice. A choice becomes a pattern. A pattern becomes character. Character becomes the strength that carries you through future weather. You are building that strength now, quietly. No one needs to see it forming. You may still have nights when the old ache returns. You may still remember someone. You may still wonder. You may still feel tempted to reach backward. Do not panic when that happens. Memory is not instruction. Longing is not instruction. Loneliness is not instruction. An emotion can move through you without making your decisions. You can miss something and still know why you left it. You can remember a beautiful moment and still remember the whole pattern. You can feel alone tonight and still refuse to return to a place where you felt alone beside someone. There is a difference. Solitude can be quiet. Emotional abandonment inside a relationship can be deafening. You do not need company at any cost. You need relationships in which your presence is met. Until then, you can learn to meet yourself more faithfully. This is not a consolation prize. It is foundation. The stronger that foundation becomes, the less likely you are to build a future on desperation. You make choices from steadier ground. You become less impressed by urgency, less seduced by inconsistency, less willing to confuse attention with devotion, more interested in what can actually hold weight. The oak does not survive 100 winters because every season was easy. It survives because each year added substance. You are adding substance. Your years are not evidence that time escaped you. They are evidence that life taught you. The lessons do not have to make you hard. They can make you discerning. They can make your kindness cleaner, your yes more sincere, your no more honest, your affection less fearful, your decisions less desperate, your future less controlled by whatever has already happened. That is deep strength. Now you can let these words become smaller. You do not need to analyze them. You do not need to remember every sentence. You can let the mind loosen its grip. You have done enough thinking for one night. Let the next lines fall without effort. You can hear them as possibilities. You can keep what fits. You can leave what does not. I trust my pace. I honor my life. I stay with myself. I welcome steady care. I choose mutual effort. I respect my limits. I speak with clarity. I listen to actions. I give from fullness. I rest without guilt. I can take time. I do not audition. I do not overprove. I release old urgency. I trust consistent behavior. I keep my center. I welcome honesty. I choose what nourishes. I can say no. I can hear no. I remain open. I remain discerning. I trust my learning. I honor my needs. I keep my promises. I can change direction. I accept sincere care. I let goodness stay. I do not force. I do not beg. I choose clear connection. I am safe to pause. I am safe to speak. I can be supported. I can be seen. I can be known. I belong to myself. I trust my roots. I grow with patience. I deepen with time. I choose what lasts. I welcome what fits. I release what drains. I protect my peace. I respect my heart. I trust my judgment. I choose myself too. I am still open. I am still growing. I am ready for mutuality. I stand in dignity. I breathe and soften. I trust the next step. I rest in myself. I stay rooted. I choose peace. I welcome clarity. I trust slowly. I stay steady. I stand firm. I remain open. I rest now. Still rooted. Still whole. Still here. No proving. No forcing. No pleading. Just truth. Just breath. Deep roots. Quiet strength. Open hands. Clear heart. Steady ground. Now let the day move farther away. You do not have to carry its conversations into sleep. Let the forehead loosen. Let the small muscles around the eyes release their work. Let the jaw rest. Let the tongue rest. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears. No need to make anything happen. The body already knows how to move towards sleep when it is given enough space. Let the hands become heavy. Let each finger stop holding the day. Let the chest soften around the breath. You do not need a deeper breath. You do not need a perfect rhythm. Let breathing happen on its own. The ribs can loosen. The belly can soften. The back can sink into what supports it. There is nothing to prove here. The hips can release their effort. The thighs can grow heavier. The knees can rest. The calves can loosen. The ankles can be still. The feet have carry. Do you far enough for today? Let them be quiet. One part at a time. No hurry. The mind may bring something back. A face, a message, a question, a memory. You do not have to push it away. You also do not have to follow it. Let it pass across the mind like weather moving beyond strong branches. The roots remain. A thought passes. The roots remain. A memory passes. The roots remain. A question passes. The roots remain. You remain. The night does not need answers from you. Sleep does not require certainty. Your body can rest before your future is known. Your heart can rest before every relationship is understood. Your mind can rest before every decision is made. Nothing important is improved by exhausting yourself through another hour of speculation. Rest is useful too. Rest helps perspective return. Rest makes tomorrow clearer. Rest gives the mind distance from what felt enormous tonight. You can leave unfinished things unfinished until morning. You can leave unanswered messages unanswered. You can leave decisions undecided. You can leave other people responsible for their own side. You do not need to hold every branch through the night. The trunk can stand without your supervision. Your life can continue without constant mental management. Rest. Let the shoulders go. Rest. Let the jaw go. Rest. Let the hands go. Rest. Let the questions go. Rest. Let the old conversation go. Rest. Let tomorrow wait. Nothing to solve. Nothing to prove. Nothing to earn. Nothing to perform. The ground is here. Your breath is here. Your body is here. You are here. And for this moment, that is enough. By now, the most important part of this night may be quieter than the questions that brought you here. You do not need to know which external door opens next. You do not need to know who stays, who changes, who understands, or what arrives on the other side of a decision you have not made yet. You only need to know that you are becoming more able to meet what comes without abandoning yourself. That is not a small thing. For years, you may have believed certainty had to come from outside you. A reply, a commitment, a promise, an invitation, a clear answer from someone whose answer seemed capable of settling your whole heart. Now you are discovering another source of steadiness, your own relationship with truth. You can survive an answer you did not hope for. You can survive a delay. You can survive being misunderstood. You can survive the end of something that once felt essential. You can survive seeing clearly. And because you can survive seeing clearly, you no longer need confusion to protect you from disappointment. Sometimes uncertainty feels easier than a clear no because uncertainty leaves imagination alive. It lets you keep building possible futures. It lets you say, "not yet," instead of, "this may not be mine." It lets hope remain untested. There is tenderness in understanding why you once preferred that space. A possible future can feel warm when the present feels lonely. A promise you invented in your mind can feel easier than accepting what another person is actually offering. But imagined futures ask for payment too. They take attention. They take sleep. They take hours that could have belonged to your real life. They can make you loyal to a possibility while reality waits outside the room. You are learning to choose reality with kindness, not because reality is always pleasant, because reality gives you ground. You can stand on what is true. You cannot stand securely on what might happen if another person becomes different. You can build from what exists. You cannot build a peaceful life from endless interpretation. This is why your growing clarity is not taking romance from you. It is making room for a more mature kind of hope. Hope that does not require denial. Hope that can look directly at a situation and still believe life contains more. Hope that can close one chapter without calling the whole story finished. Hope that can say, "This did not become what I wanted, and I am still here." That kind of hope is strong because it does not depend on pretending. It has roots. Think again of the old oak after another year has passed. No single ring explains the whole tree. One ring may have formed during generous rain, another during a dry year. One may be broad, another narrow. Each becomes part of the trunk without becoming the entire identity of the tree. Your years can be held in the same way. The relationship that ended is one ring. The season you waited too long is one ring. The year you finally spoke is one ring. The time you left before you lost more of yourself is one ring. The time you stayed and repaired something real is one ring. The season when you had to learn how to be alone is one ring. The season when help arrived is one ring. The season when you began trusting yourself again is one ring. None of them needs to become the whole trunk. You are larger than any one chapter. This matters when the mind tries to define you by the hardest year. You can remember what happened without turning it into your permanent name. You are not the person who was left. You are a person who experienced being left and continued living. You are not the person who was overlooked. You are a person who knew that pain and kept growing. You are not the person who settled forever. You are a person who once accepted less and later learned more. Language matters. The stories you repeat about yourself can either trap you inside an old season or place that season where it belongs, behind you, within you, but not ruling you. You can say, "That happened." You do not have to say, "That is who I am." You can say, "I made that choice." You do not have to say, "I always ruin things." You can say, "I stayed longer than I wish I had." You do not have to say, "I cannot trust myself." You can say, "I am learning to act sooner on what I know." That sentence leaves room for growth. It leaves room for another ring. This is how identity becomes kinder and more accurate. You stop turning temporary seasons into permanent definitions. You stop using yesterday as a weapon against tomorrow. You stop insisting that because you once made one kind of choice, you must always make it. A life can change direction gradually. It can change through 100 quiet decisions that seem almost invisible when taken one at a time. You answer differently. You rest sooner. You ask more clearly. You stop apologizing before speaking. You let silence belong to the person who created it. You stop filling every gap. You let another adult carry their own emotional responsibility. You become more honest about what you want. You become less ashamed of what matters to you. You stop making yourself easy to lose just to prove you are easy to keep. These changes gather. Then one day you look back and realize the trunk is different. Not because one night transformed everything, because you kept adding density, because you kept returning to yourself, because every time life tested an old pattern, you had another chance to choose from the person you were becoming rather than the person you had been. You will not choose perfectly every time. There will be moments when you react before remembering, moments when you say too much, moments when you give another chance and later wish you had not, moments when fear becomes loud, moments when the old hunger for reassurance returns. Do not make those moments larger than they are. A storm does not erase the rings formed before it. You can return. You can correct. You can apologize if needed. You can change direction. You can begin again from where you actually are. The ability to return may matter more than the fantasy of never wandering. Perfection would make self-trust impossible because perfection is not available to a human life. Reliability is available. You can become reliable to yourself. You can become someone who comes back, someone who listens sooner, Someone who does not leave herself alone inside difficult situations for months before admitting the truth. Someone who can say, "I need support." Someone who knows that asking for help is not failure. Someone who knows that another person's refusal does not remove your right to choose your next step. Someone who knows that you can be disappointed and still remain open to life. That is the ground beneath your future. Not prediction, not control. Capacity. The capacity to recognize hat is healthy. The capacity to walk away from what repeatedly diminishes you. The capacity to stay present when something good does not arrive with fireworks. The capacity to accept care without turning yourself into a debtor. The capacity to let another person know you instead of only meeting the version designed to please them. The capacity to be seen without performing. The capacity to take your time. The capacity to let what is still unknown remain unknown until life provides more information. This is what makes openness safer. You know you can respond. You know you can choose. You know you can seek support. You know you can leave. You know you can stay. You know you can ask. You know you can listen. You know you can decide later. You are no longer standing before life with only one option. That changes everything inside you. Desperation narrows the field. It says, "This must work." Steadiness says, "I will see what is true." Desperation says, "I cannot lose this." Steadiness says, "I will not lose myself to keep it." Desperation says, "Tell me now." Steadiness says, "Time can reveal what words cannot." Desperation says, "What if nothing else comes?" Steadiness says, "I do not need fear to write the future." You can feel the difference. One posture contracts around an outcome. The other keeps room for reality. This does not mean you become emotionally distant. You can still be enthusiastic. You can still say yes with your whole heart. You can still make plans. You can still express affection. You can still be excited about someone. You can still miss them when they are away. The difference is that your joy no longer has to carry fear underneath it. You do not need to grip what you appreciate. You can participate fully while remembering that both people remain free. Freedom is not a threat to genuine connection. It is part of what makes a sincere yes meaningful. A person who stays because they freely choose to stay offers something different from a person pressured into closeness. You deserve to know the difference, and you deserve to offer the same freedom. No testing, no games, no calculated withdrawal designed to create panic. No pretending you do not care because caring feels vulnerable. You can be honest without becoming controlling. You can say, "I care about this." You can say, "I would like to know where we stand." You can say, "This matters to me." Then you can let the other person respond from who they really are. Their response may please you. It may disappoint you. Either way, Truth gives you something real to meet. This is the dignity of mature openness. You do not hide your heart merely to avoid rejection. You also do not place your heart where repeated behavior has shown no care for it. You let tenderness and wisdom sit beside each other. You let hope and discernment share the same room. You let desire speak without making every decision. You let experience teach without turning you bitter. The oak does not become hard because it has survived cold seasons. Its living tissue remains beneath the bark. It continues sending new growth outward when the season supports it. Strength and aliveness are not opposites. Your deeper boundaries do not need to make you emotionally closed. They can protect the conditions in which tenderness survives. That may be one of the most beautiful changes ahead of you. You become less afraid of your own softness because softness is no longer the same as helplessness. You can care and still choose. You can forgive and still remember what you learned. You can be generous and still stop when generosity becomes self-neglect. You can remain warm without offering unlimited access. You can open again because you know you can close what becomes harmful. You can take another chance because you know a chance is not a lifelong contract. You can meet someone new without requiring them to pay for someone else's choices. You can meet yourself new too. That may be the part you have overlooked. You do not have to keep treating yourself as the person you were 5 years ago, or 1 year ago, or last month. You are allowed to meet yourself as you are now, with more knowledge, more discernment, more history, more capacity, more willingness to stand beside your own life. Let that be the message you carry out of this night. Not that some particular event is guaranteed, not that a certain person is on the way, not that every closed door hides a better one immediately behind it. You do not need those promises. You have something more useful. You have the growing ability to recognize what deserves your participation. You have the growing ability to remain with yourself while life reveals the next step. That makes room for a future built from clearer choices. A future in which you do not have to bargain against your own needs before another person has even spoken. A future in which being wanted is no longer more important than being respected. A future in which peace is not dismissed as boring simply because chaos used to feel familiar. A future in which your yes comes from desire rather than fear. A future in which your no can protect what years of learning have built. A future in which you can welcome something good without demanding that it prove your value. Your value was never waiting behind a door. It was never sitting inside another person's decision. It was never hidden in the reply you hoped to receive. It was never created by attention. It has been present through every season, even when you forgot, even when you settled, even when you doubted. Even when you tried to earn what should not have required self-erasure. The years did not remove it. They gave you the chance to understand it more deeply. Now the mind can begin to grow quieter again. There is nothing left to chase through thought tonight. No hidden answer is waiting at the end of another hour of analysis. You can let the unfinished remain unfinished. You can let other people sleep inside their own choices. You can sleep inside yours. Let the room become ordinary again. No problem to solve. No future to force. No past to edit. The bed supports you. The night holds its silence without asking anything from you. Breathing continues. Your hands are still. Your face can soften further. The muscles around the eyes have no work left. The jaw can rest without preparing another sentence. The shoulders do not need to carry tomorrow. The chest does not need to hold anyone close through effort. The belly can loosen. The legs can be heavy. The feet can be quiet. You have reached the place where thinking can stop being useful. Let it stop. If a thought returns, it does not need an answer. If a memory returns, it does not need a conclusion. If a name returns, it does not need a message. If a question returns, morning can meet it. For now, there is only rest. Rest inside the years that have strengthened you. Rest inside the lessons you no longer need to repeat tonight. Rest inside the knowledge that you can choose again tomorrow. Rest inside the possibility that your life can surprise you without your constant supervision. You do not need to stand guard over every future door. You do not need to press your ear against what remains closed. You do not need to knock until your hands ache. Some doors are not yours. Some require time. Some open through ordinary actions rather than force. Some will matter less to you once you have grown another season. And some openings begin inside your own decisions long before anything changes outside you. Let that be enough for sleep. A little more trust in your pace. A little less fear of what you cannot predict. A little more respect for what your years have taught you. A little less willingness to bargain with yourself. You have added another ring tonight. Not because every sentence will be remembered. Because some part of you has heard a different way to stand. Tomorrow, you may practice it in one small moment. That is how it becomes real. One choice, one return, one truth, one boundary, one honest yes, one honest no. One pause, one night of rest, then another season. You are not rushing toward yourself anymore. You are already here. Stay here. Let the old urgency become quieter. Let the need to prove be and come quieter. Let the fear of missing out become quieter. Let the imagined conversations fade. Let the unfinished stories loosen. Let the next chapter remain unwritten tonight. You do not need to write it in advance. You will meet it awake, with clearer eyes, with steadier hands, with deeper roots. The old oak does not ask the darkness what spring will bring. It stands through the night with everything it has already grown. You can rest in the same truth. You have already grown more than fear remembers. You have already learned more than longing admits. You have already survived more than uncertainty can threaten. You do not need another proof tonight. Let sleep take the place of effort. Let quiet take the place of analysis. Let the body sink. Let the mind loosen. Let tomorrow stay beyond the horizon. No more reaching, no more rehearsing, no more bargaining, no more proving, only breath, only rest, only roots, only quiet, still here, still whole, still growing, still yours. If sleep is already close, you do not need to follow another thought to its ending. Let understanding become quiet. The strongest lesson does not have to stay in words. It can settle into the way you move tomorrow, into the moment you choose not to hurry and answer, into the moment you keep a promise to yourself, into the moment you recognize that calm does not mean something is missing, into the moment you let another person meet you halfway instead of crossing the whole distance alone. You will not need to remember this entire night for that to happen. An oak does not remember each day in which a ring was made. The ring remains anyway. Let what belongs with you remain in that same quiet way. No effort, no memorizing, no final test. Only the deepening that comes when truth has been heard and no longer needs to argue for itself. And now, one final vow. I stand rooted while my life unfolds. You no longer chase, you attract. Sleep beneath the strength you have grown.